afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome to another CIO East Africa webinar. Today, our topic is going to be focused on securing the new normal in the public sector. As we do know, right now we are at a point in our lives where we are all on remote working from home, given the current situation. And I know one of the most difficult things must be being able to get our public sector to deliver services to us citizens using technology, and even that adapting to technology must be very difficult and quite foreign, seeing as most of us are used to engaging our mode of engagement of technologies through email. So, but we've reached a point where we have to work from home. We have to deliver services to citizens from home. We have to connect from home. How secure are we about connecting from home? Do we feel comfortable, making it, giving connectivity to our staff members from home as public sector? I'm sure there's sensitive information that they have to access. They have to approve all sorts of things from a public sector perspective. Seeing as this is something that happened, the pandemic came and we were not prepared. What happens from a budget perspective? Budget was already allocated for the year. So what is the story with that? Is there a new budget that has been allocated? Are we looking for new service providers to deal with the challenges that we are currently having? So on behalf of CIO East Africa, I would like to thank our hosts today for the session. Thank you very much to Trend Micro for hosting us today. We look forward to a fantastic and engaging session. We do have a range of speakers who are going to share with us their experience from a end user perspective, some of the amazing things they've done, some of the challenges they're facing, and our main focus is really going to be around technology security, which is a very sensitive issue today. So before I hand over to the intro that will be done by Indy from Trend Micro, who's the vice president, some quick house rules for those of you who have never joined us. Please do bear with me if you've joined us before. But quickly, we have the chat, the public chat window where you can engage with us. If you can't see anything, if you can't hear anything, please let us know through the public chat window. We have the Q&A window where you will throw in your questions and we shall be able to address them as we go through the session. I do see there are some polls that have been posted, and we will be advised as to when we should answer the polls. And there are some handouts in the handout window which you can download as we are going through the session. As we do have a lot of content that we need to share today, I will hand over to Indy, who will run his presentation, take us through his content, and then we can start our panel session after that. Indy, over to you.
Thank you very much, Laura. How are you doing? Hi, everyone. I think my slides are just all over right now. Let me go back to slides. Okay. Right, it's a bit all smudged up, but hopefully you can get the message out there. Hi, good afternoon all. Thank you for joining this session. I know most of you are, invited for many of these sessions, many of these webinars, in this given time. It's a challenging time for all of us, isn't it? 2020 is just being interesting in terms of everything, business, numbers, you talk about it, everything looks, everything has changed a lot. So today I thought with that, I'll talk about how do we enable resilience in a changing world, right? Now, especially for public sector, you guys are governed by a very strict set of rules. And saying that, a public sector in Africa is the biggest spender in IT budget, much more than telcos, much more than BFSI, the banking sectors, etc. Sorry, Laura, my slides getting disappeared. Okay, here it is again. Right. So it's important that I want to just paint the picture on what we are doing, what our commitment in the region, and what's been happening. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Trend Micro. I've been to Kenya many times, and I was presented in Kenya in public sector forums as well, and looking forward to be there. So before we start, I'll actually introduce two key people from my team, and there are others in Kenya as well, two key people. Obayo Abe, he's my leader who's in charge of East and West and Central Africa, right? And Bio is got pretty much the team reporting into him in West Africa, Central Africa, and East Africa. And we have a good team in East Africa on the ground. We have sales guys, we have engineers, we have people looking after you, right? And there's Connor Smith. Connor Smith is the channel leader and alliances leader for Sub-Saharan Africa. And then, she has actually been in Africa. She's traveled across Kenya and West Africa quite a lot. So what we're trying to do is also build a nice partner ecosystem to service you better. So with that, without any further ado, let's crack on with what I want to talk about. My commitment is my talk is all about a bit about resilience, a bit about what we have to say about in this changing world with COVID and everything, but also about instill some confidence in you as customers or perhaps future customers of Trend Micro, what we can offer you as a business, right? So we are actually not 30, we are 32 years young, right? And we started this internet security journey a long time ago. Guys, just to paint the picture, we are about 7,000 employees. We are in in 73 countries now. We are almost $2 billion in revenue and a very, very profitable business, right? Why is it important being profitable? It's not about blowing our own trumpet. It's quite important from a customer perspective for you guys to understand we are here for the long run. So as an example, guys, I'm a foreigner. I mean, I call myself, I'm really African. I love Africa. I've been here for 2.5 years. I came from Australia. So when I came in here, we had 4 people on the ground. Now we have nearly 50 people across Sub-Saharan Africa, right? That shows our commitment to the region in terms of investment, in terms of what we want to offer and what we want to do with you guys. So we have a lot of overlay resources in South Africa, Johannesburg. We have marketing, we have operations, we have extra technical resources, and the leadership sits in Johannesburg, outside, apart from Bio, who runs West and East Africa, right? So we have done some cool stuff. 20 years ago, we were the first one to go to the virus wall, and 10 years ago, we were the first one in the cloud, right? Now we are talking of brand new. We are in a brand new world with COVID's changed a lot of things. Like we are looking at IoT devices, we are looking at people working from home, and pretty much our story now is about how do we pull everything together to offer you that safety net. Now, understanding public sector as well, being the biggest spender, right? That's cool, but also it's a nightmare to manage all these different products and services today. You have multiple vendors working together. How do you sort of, pull everything together, have a single pane of glass that actually help you, manage the situation? And also, with COVID now in play, how do you now, educate your staff and retrain people in terms of digital transformation to adapt to the new norm? New norm means you work from anywhere, not work from home anymore, work from anywhere. How do you as public sector that you can enable those features and functionality and to increase the productivity, but also looking at the governance that comes with it, right? You are governed very strictly, and how you cannot do things like a normal other organization would do. So how do you sort of go about, offer the flexibility to increase productivity, however, have that governing body? Now, I know Martin is here. I met Martin a few times. I've seen what they do. Some awesome stuff, right? It's awesome stuff, right? With VMware, some coolest stuff. I love it, right? I promised Martin I'll be there and talk to Martin, and I haven't got there because of COVID, right? Now, COVID kicked in and that's it. But Martin, I'm going to be there again, right? We're going to talk about these things, right? Cool. My slides are missing again. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to click on it again. Let's crack on, guys. This is the beauty of the new norm we live in, right? All the virtual stuff and different virtual platforms. Some work very well, some have different issues, right? All cool. That's right. So I mentioned about things to you. We are very, very passionate. And one thing I want to really talk about is the middle one. See the blue box, customer first. When we saw the COVID, when we saw a lot of people getting impact, having a lot of impact, the businesses now have to get people working from home. We ended up giving licenses, work from home licenses for the companies free of charge, right? That is because we look at the customer, go, right, forget about revenue. We know about revenue here. Let's enable our customers to service better, right? So we care. I mean, we look at our projects we do around the world, right? We have a lot of good projects going on in Africa, especially with a lot of good projects in Africa going on as well. I talked about the revenue, why it is important. Those are early 19 numbers, but now we are nearing the $2 billion mark, which is great. Even with this pandemic that's going around, we are actually growing as a business, right? Double-digit growth. What do you guys hear? What is Kenya doing? Right, Kenya is very, very, very advanced, and I've been there, the CIO forum 2 years back in Naivasha. It was so good to be there. I mean, I really loved it, and I was listening to all these conversations going on. You guys are talking about cloud, you guys talk about big data analytics, you guys are talking about IoT, right? Even blockchain was discussed 2 years back. And I come to South Africa and go, right, South Africans are still thinking about it, but the Kenyans are leapfrogging. Even some of the developed nations like Australia or UK or US, which is fantastic, right? So the bottom line is, some of these things may not be applicable to public sector, but these are interesting dynamics that in terms of where technology is now taking the whole industry, the transformation across it, right? This is interesting. So you may or may not know, or you may or may not disclose, this is our own research. And we have seen with digital transformation, and especially with COVID-19 kicking in, number of risks, especially phishing attacks, right, in businesses has gone up, right? The number says it all, right? Risks has gone up crazy. And this is not fear mongering, guys. This is not about fear mongering. I don't want to fear monger any of you guys. These are facts. And we have a lot of senior people here. However, senior people here, so you guys know exactly what's going on, right? I mean, the FBI says there are two types of organizations. They've been hacked. The other set of organization is they don't know they've been hacked, right? So everyone has actually gone through some sort of issues, right? What's happened, guys, is risks are escalating, and COVID actually has thrown the spanner in the workshop. Okay, start on COVID. Look at those numbers. Scary. But if you're interested in Kenya-based numbers or East Africa-based numbers, we have those numbers. Happy to share with you as a separate handout through CIO forum, through Laura and the team. So we will actually, my marketing will actually share East Africa numbers with you guys. What is relevant to with COVID and numbers in terms of the hacks and etc. So numbers are pretty much going up, guys, right? COVID, we heard about Zoom bombing, which is not an attack, but it's more about exploiting people knowledge about technology, right? And then there are Zoom attacks, Zoom viruses, right? And there were same thing written for Microsoft Teams. So it is real, right? It's not about we are trying to build up a story to just get you guys too excited. It's a reality. So we're thinking, constantly thinking. We are thinking. I mean, I was in a meeting that day. We have built this beautiful, one portals to help customers and partners, and we're thinking that is still not enough. We have to change so fast, and we are changing so fast. And you'll hear some more exciting news down the line, probably about 3-4 months down the line. But we are even making it even better. So let's look at it, right? Look at we see, Kenya. I know Microsoft is quite big there, and AWS is also now there in terms of you don't have a pub there, but South Africa's got a pub, but its cloud is eminent, right? And if you think cloud is not there, I would ask the question: Office 365. Are you guys using Office 365 as public sector? I'm pretty sure some of you are using Office 365, and that is cloud, right? And how do we sort of help multiple clouds? We're looking at these are some of the things that we see that public sector clients around the world, including Africa, that we are experiencing, right? And how do we manage these technological challenges, right? People moving to cloud, etc., and services, and people have remote workers accessing it, right? And how do we sort of help you out? So one thing, and the CIOs, CISOs, CTOs in this forum would really say there are a lot of things going on. There's a regulatory framework happening on the side. How do you detect, respond? How do you go after everything? And skill gap. Can you hire people? Can you find cybersecurity people? It's pretty hard, right? Around the world, there are so many jobs available for cybersecurity people, in various cybersecurity people, but you can't find resources, and that is the reality. So what we've done actually, we come up with a plan. It's working very well. We have some really awesome stories to share with you, exciting stories, right? So some of you would have known that we had, we were, if you look at how we are positioned, we had three basic pillars in security. We had the endpoint, and most of you would know Trend Micro as, hey, you guys are endpoint. Yeah, we are endpoint, but we are very good at it. That's why we started, right? But I don't know how many of you know that we are the leaders, global leader in cloud security. We have the greatest market share. I think we are about the 36% mark globally on hybrid cloud security. Second to us is Cisco. They're about 7%. Right? So you can see about 3 times more than anyone else in the market, so in terms of cloud. Network side, we acquired the Pinpoint brand from Hewlett Packard, which is badly neglected. We've really made it work, and we've integrated everything together. The coolest thing, guys, and we come up with XDR. We are the first ones to launch XDR. We had XDR launch, I think 2 weeks back. I'm not sure whether some of you would have attended the session. This is really cool. What we've done is actually we are building data lakes across different countries and continents, and we are having our data lake in South Africa for Africa coming up in about a couple of months' time. What we're doing is we are actually detecting and responding and setting up a managed response service for you as a customer to benefit. So you don't have to worry about skill gaps, right? So we have the cloud side, we have the XDR side, and we have the IoT, the new side, right? IoT may or not be relevant to the public sector, but which is cool. So what we're saying is we are not trying to. Our technology is brilliant. Now I'll have a slide here somewhere down the line to show you where we, in terms of rank, in terms of worldwide ranking. But my point today is not about technology. So our products are fantastic. You guys can test it. They're number one in in endpoint, cloud, networks. We're number one in all different quadrants. My thing today for the business leaders here is how do we solve your business problem, right? Business problem is resources, guys. How do you find skills? How do you find resources? How do you train? Your legacy software products or hardware products from different vendors. How do you put everything together, right? How can we build a single pane of glass to help you out in terms of your solution stack, and then that you're secure, right? So pretty much what you're looking at is actually where we can actually offer you full managed service across XDR. So we have the cloud services, we have the network services, we have the endpoint, all put together as one service for you. So here we are, the slide I was talking about. I'm not going to talk too much about it. You can see the red dots where Trend Micro is, right? We are right up there, guys. So it's not about product discussion. We have a fantastic team on the ground to talk about products and solutions, and you guys can test it. For me, is that my commitment to you as a leader for Africa is that we are here to service you better, right? Where other vendors are pulling, some of the other vendors are pulling out from Africa. We have actually been here, invested more, and still investing more, and actually to make sure that we service you and provide that, service. When I say service, a managed service, if I may, or even some of you have SOC experience. We can even offer you the SOC tooling kits where actually you can integrate our software into your SOCs. And we can train you guys. We can actually train the partners. We have some amazing, great programs that actually you're going to love it, right? So we can talk and discuss more, and I'm here to have more questions from the panel and from you guys. So anyway, a few more things about Trend Micro now, what we do. If you know about zero day, we actually are the leaders in global leader in zero day initiative. We actually provide some of those patches, even to Microsoft, likes of Microsoft and Adobe, about 3 to 6 months before they even know they had a breach, a hole, right? And you see our research centers, we spend a lot of money on R&D. We are a serious business, one of the most profitable companies, which is quite important because we can actually hang in there and service better. So one other thing, here's we work with a lot of law enforcement. And Interpol is quite important, guys. And then I have had a lot more slides. I didn't want to bore you with slides because it's very hard on a virtual platform to go through slides. We do a lot of work in Africa, with Interpol. So amazing amount of stuff done with Rwanda, especially. Innocent, you're there. We do a lot of work with Interpol in Rwanda, right? And so some examples. We do a lot of cool stuff in Africa. We're going to talk about it. Okay, my slides are going again. I'm sorry. It's about being resilient, right? It's about being resilient and how you can actually manage it. Now, I want to talk about something else. Of course, we're passionate people. We're passionate about security. We're passionate about your success, making sure that you are all right, you're connected, and you're looked after, and you have, fewer incidents, responses pinging you, rather than having thousands and thousands of, alerts, alert fatigue. We know that, and we build the solutions actually so to help you out. So, but important thing, and I have this slide, and I want to talk about actually about personas, especially in public sector. If you're going to enable your teams to work from home, and then we've seen four type of people, right? We see people, fearful people, meaning that they fear to go and work from home because they think, oh my God, they might do something. And there are ignorant people do crazy things without even looking at. They don't know what's about to do with it. Right? They're all dangerous. Then they are devils. They try everything and break the system. That's when works for public sector, especially if you are governed by a very strict set of rules. And conscientious people, right? So that is where we want to get it. We don't want people to run away, your staff to run away. We can help, educate, put programs in place with you, actually make sure people understand what is a phishing attack, what does it work, how does it work, right? Have those training sessions with you guys and enable your teams, to actually support your teams better. So, right. So that's from me, very high level in this. I want to talk about resilience in this world today, especially things are going really bad. The borders will open, but still it'll take some time for us to get to new normal. The behavior, the previous way of doing business. But listen, it is what it is, right? We got to work with what we have, but we are here to service and support you. Hopefully, I'll be there sooner than later, and see you guys, and some of you at least in person. And so that's it from me. So I'm looking forward to some Q&As later. With that, Laura, can I pass the mic to you? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Indy, and my sincere apologies to the audience for the technical hitch that we had in the beginning. But you do all understand how technology can be, Yeah, when you're doing all this stuff and the dry runs and all that, everything is running smoothly. When it gets to the actual delivery, something always has to go wrong. But this is the fun bit about technology and all of us trying to embrace this whole new norm and online engagement. The one thing that I took out from your presentation, Indy, is the resilience bit, which I am very proud to say as Africans, and COVID has proven that we are very, very resilient. As you can see, we are very fast flattening the curve, and it's even become a phenomenon that, the World Health Organization is trying to understand what is so different about us. So I'm even sure from a technology perspective, we are rolling with it. So, thank you very much for your continued support and not pulling out of this continent, hanging in there with us and helping us, ride this wave, that is changing who we are globally. So up next, I'd like to introduce Joseph Madenge, who's the moderator for the panel session.
Greetings, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to this session, second part of the session in securing the new normal in the public sector. It is fantastic to be with you here. My name is Joseph Madenge, as was introduced. I have the distinct responsibility and opportunity of being the moderator of this very distinguished panelists that you can see on your screen right now. Thank you so much, Indy, for your presentation and your intro into this key conversations. There are a lot of key items that you raised, and I absolutely agree with Laura in terms of some of the areas that you called out and highlighted. I hope we'll have a chance to extensively go through them and talk about them. I think by far one of the areas that jumped out to me quite well was the slide that you talked about, the difficulty to detect and respond. If there is a new reality in this new day and age, is the fact that now our boundaries have expanded significantly. So the ability of detecting and going through it has become even more of a challenge. I'll take a minute and recognize the panelists that I have with me. In no order of priority, Vincent Goody is one of the people with us today. He is a cybersecurity strategy and governance expert. It's nice to see you on the panel. Welcome, Vincent. I also want to recognize Innocent Muhuzi, who is the CEO of Rwanda Information Society Authority. He is a technology and business executive with over 14 years of industry experience in both public and private sector, with strong skills and capabilities in managing and delivering business strategies under complex corporate environments. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'll recognize Martin Merero, who is Director of ICT Huduma Kenya, an experienced CIO, CTO with unique fusion of both technology sales and technology management experience. Welcome, Mr. Merero.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah.
And I'll also recognize Joseph Kuria, who is Director ICT and Risk Management. He is a leading business-oriented technology professional with over 20 years experience in a diverse range of technologies, championing business process improvements, cost reduction, and identifying the most cost-effective value-add IT solutions. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Also with us is a very strong team from the Trend Micro team. I'll also continue to recognize them as we go through them. I'll, however, immediately jump into the questions and discussions that we have. This first question, I'll pretty much pose it to the entire group, and then ask each and every one of you to take 2 or 3 minutes to explain what it means to you. And the question number one is, how has the work from home model and COVID-19 crisis altered the risk to your organization? Just as we get into answering these questions, there is a polling that I'm asking the audience that you'll be able to give your answers to indicate what it means to you. But I'll begin with you, Mr. Kuria. How has the work from home new model and COVID-19 pandemic crisis altered the risk to your organization? Mr. Kuria.
Thank you so very much, Joseph, and good afternoon to you all, audience, and my fellow panelists. Yes, it has been a quite challenging 6 months for all of us in the country, and the world has been almost like 9 months or so of turmoil in all spheres of influence. Let me say that within government, we have had a lot of challenges. When this thing happened, we realized that we couldn't be able to do the things that we used to do normally. And as you know, that at around that particular time where I work in the Commission on Revenue Allocation, last year, we had a terrorist attack. And we had actually been knocked off from our office for almost a month. So we're working from a remote site. And so we had some kind of business continuity measure that we had put in place. And so when this issue of COVID came, it came, let me say, at a point whereby we were almost prepared, but not completely prepared. We're trying to move our staff to the crowd, but we are not actually done the same, done so. But let me say that why this has become a challenge for us is because the networks that we have and the security that we've had all along, it was centered around, firewalls, these DMZs and all that. But it was never 100% ready for remote working. One thing that you realize is that with the kind of environment work in government is that we have consistently aged people who are not so very much tech savvy. And one of the greatest challenges I had was to actually organize meetings and try to train people online how to use Zoom, how to use WebEx, and all that. Then came the issue of the aspect of bandwidth. But most important, the challenge we got was when they could not connect to the office to get access to the application they had, the ELPs. One is because you had actually restricted the access to the services because of insecurities. And no, we had to actually open it up with the risk that if this happens, we get hit, then that's it. But we did a lot of VPN connections that helped us on that particular end. But let me say that it is not 100%, as I said, because when we give our staff the gadgets to work from home, most of them converted them to educational toolkits for their kids, and also used to use them for other kind of jobs. There was no way you could actually centralize what they are accessing, because the central data center is where the antivirus, access controls are. Now they had a whole flood of applications accessible to them. That was a challenge even up to now, that we are trying to figure out how we can do to even get all this stuff to the crowd, and the security is managed from the crowd, which site you access is managed from the crowd, and get off all the stress that we have in managing this particular thing off. The other thing that I might say is that when they are offline, we have these guys who normally do a lot of phishing, and sometimes they craft messages very nicely to mimic an internal email or an internal communication. And some of these guys, you realize they don't really understand that these are phishing, but you have tried to actually train them. If you get a suspicious content, flash it off to the ICT and they'll be able to advise you. So I don't want to take much of a time because I can go to speak a lot into this whole thing. But let me say that as I finish on this, so that I can give the other people a chance. The problem we've had is in government, when you're actually having issues of online meeting, there is sensitivity to whatever we discuss. As a commission right now, we are discussing the issue of the formula. For those who are in Kenya, you know the kind of heat it has generated. So when you create this online conference, you don't know who is listening in. You don't know who is next to that particular person. And so the risk of information leak getting out there before it is finally processed has been a major problem in government. And it is not just with the commission, but across government. And this is something that we are actually trying to see what we can be able to do. And that goes with information dissemination, disinformation. You get information which you have baked, you go change it, and then project like is the government agency or government institution that has said it, which has a lot of implication distorting the actual information that the public gets. So let me stop here and probably give others a chance, but probably maybe if I get a second bite, maybe I can also be able to bring other aspects that maybe might be interesting to the viewers. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Korea. I appreciate your response on that. I'll turn over to Mr. Gundi. Same answer. I request that you keep your answer in just about 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, Joseph, for the opportunity, and good afternoon, everyone. Just to add to what Korea has said, I think really COVID-19 has, on one hand, accelerated the digital transformation agenda for the public sector. And what that has meant is that the public sector has been forced to either reimagine or review their strategies in order to adopt digital technologies and platforms much faster, which obviously has brought challenges with it. On one hand, we are seeing, as Korea is saying, the need to adopt technologies for business continuity, or rather to ensure that the businesses and the public sector, for that matter, continues performing the public service, which is the role of government. But at the same time, we are seeing the risks that are coming out of that quick adoption of technology, and some of them include increased cyber threats and cyber attacks, issues to do with privacy as well, as issues to do with balancing between personal responsibilities and professional responsibilities. And I think it's some of the things from the people element that is really evident, where we are seeing people, working from home becoming a challenge because people are mixing up both personal responsibilities and professional responsibilities. I think it's something that's not been mentioned a lot, but that people element is one of the issues. But just to come back to your question, has COVID-19 and working from home altered the risk to organizations, and more specifically the public sector? The answer is yes. I think it has, and I think we need to look at this not only from a public sector perspective, but also from a general perspective. Because if you look at, for example, the technologies that are used to allow for working from home, for instance, and responding to this crisis, you realize that a vast majority of these technologies actually either run by them. So I think even as much as we want to look at the public sector in exclusion, we must consciously look at generally the whole sector and see how the various stakeholders interact and engage to make sure that we have solutions that will work for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent, for your response. Just to audience, do know that our polls are open at the moment. We are looking for responses from you as well as far as this first question that we have shared with the panelists. How's the work from home new model and COVID-19 pandemic crisis altered the risk to your organization? Please share your responses to that. I'll take a response from one other participant. Mr. Muhizi, are you still on? It looks like perhaps we lost you there. I'll go to Martin Mirero. Martin, welcome.
Yes.
On the same question, please.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Good afternoon. Greetings here, my panelists and everyone. Yeah, so not to belabor the points I think made by my previous colleagues, but it certainly turned the risk playbook upside down. I think in public sector, I think it's the last few months have caused almost a complete reassessment of our risk posture, the risk strategies we have in place, and sort of like, to reevaluate this afresh. And so I think to a certain extent that's positive too, because I think this is the distributed way of working and being able to work from anywhere at any time is a growing trend anyway in not just the private work setup, but in government as well. So I think it's been quite disruptive to the risk faced by public sector organizations, specifically speaking to from my standpoint, and I think this also presents opportunities for us to now prioritize our investments and see how best to address these risks, while trying to strike the balance also between usability, ease of use, and convenience of our different stakeholders and users, with the need to protect the assets that we as organizations have. Yeah, thanks.
Like Laura said right at the start, everything is working perfectly during test run, but when you go live, it becomes a whole new story.
Yeah.
I want to pose the same opening question to Mr. Muhizi in terms of what's the impact to your organization during this pandemic period. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Joseph. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Apologies, I lost you 1 or 2 minutes ago. Yes, this period we're in has, for lack of any other way better putting it, has really distorted and disrupted the way we do business or conduct business. And I believe it is the same across the whole world. Number one, the networks that we run different systems on to connect to each other and to connect to the systems has been really tested to the maximum. Not only on the data part, even on just simple voice part, really where all of a sudden your ISPs had perfected the CBD areas of different capitals. But now that people are working from home, you realize that they really have to go back to retesting their and re-optimizing the networks in the rural areas where people are living and working from, which was not the case. Now, from a security point of view, that has created a lot of issues across. Number one, the home networks are not as secure and robust as our office networks. And number two, all the knowledge that we thought we actually had was actually really tested this time around to understand, do we really know how to make sure that we are secure online or not? So really this has reshifted our orientation in terms of how do we work security online. So there are quite a lot of things that we've learned in the process, and it has really shifted our thinking. Security all along, we have thought about security from sort of a box point of view. You have your firewall, you have your antivirus installed, and you expect things to work in the way you expect them to. Actually, that is not the case. You have to think about security holistically, starting from the user, getting to the network, getting to the application, and making sure that you have all the policies that you put on paper implemented on the system. So this has been really an eye-opener, but it is a good eye-opener, I must say. I submit, and then we can go into other details later. Thank you.
Very good. So I'll go into the rest of the questions now. I'll be asking them in random orders of you, the panelists. So as we move on to it, while I still have you, Mr. Muizi, a quick question for you. And of course, the rest of the panelists, you're welcome to contribute. The fight against cybercrime requires trained professionals. Are there mechanisms within the public sector to improve the cybersecurity knowledge that you have deployed? What are some of the tactics that you're using to both attract and retain, critical talent in this security space?
Thank you, Joseph. I will tell you straight away, there's not a single bullet solution that you're going to get because it's not about how to keep a good talent on cybersecurity. It's any talent, especially the technology talent or IT skills. Number one, they're very scarce. Number two, they're very hard to keep if once you get them. So it is a struggle, but there are a number of tactics, if you will, or strategies that we're looking at, and I believe this is not on us, but it's a global phenomenon. Number one, there are people really, money is not the solution for everything. What is the value that you're creating for these people in respective tasks that are being assigned? I believe by showing what the good is and what they are going to gain, not only from a monetary point of view, but rather advancing their careers, addressing society issues that they are very passionate about, making sure that they're able to link it to other different initiatives and aspirations they are linked to. This all together combined is going to enable you to attract and retain good talent, but continuous education is very paramount. And here, it's not only education for the cybersecurity professionals or any other technology professionals, but even education and awareness for the general public. I believe we need to educate the users on the receiving end much as more we educate the people who are providing these services, because security is as good as how the user who is receiving the service is going to be able to perceive and utilize it. So I believe a number of these initiatives, and of course, looking at it from a holistic point of view, it's not only for the public sector, it's not only for the private sector, it's not only for the academia, but it's for everybody. So all the stakeholders have to come to the understanding that it's not a one-man's game, it's for all of us together, and we're in it together. Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you for that. Julius Muli, we haven't really had a chance to interact and speak with you. So this question is directed to you. Julius Muli, I hope you can hear me. We may have lost you there for just a moment. No worries, I'll pose this question to you, Mr. Korea, and then we'll come back to Mr. Muli. The question to you, sir. is what are some of the trends that you're seeing in the public sector in East Africa? You had mentioned this during your opening statement, and perhaps looking for you to expand on it just a little bit more. What are some of this, both technology trends and perhaps more specifically the cybersecurity trends that you think are very interesting about this current time that we're going through?
Thank you so very much, Joseph. Let me say from where I sit in the governments, and especially in policy making, both at the national government, also for the county governments, I think the greatest challenge that we've had from 2013 is to push cloud computing. And this is given the fact that cloud actually saves a lot of cost in building up infrastructure and all that. If you look at now the county governments, each one of them is actually trying to actually come up with data centers, a very costly venture, which I don't even know they'll be able to have the skills to manage them. And this issue of the COVID has come at a very optimal time. Because now what you're having is that most of the entities are looking at how do we get to the crowd and secure our data, because they have realized that things can go haywire. You can have one particular security guy having your password to the server, and then he dies of COVID without notice. And then your data is locked in there. But when it is in the crowd, you can actually have the third party actually trying to unlock that particular data for you. And that is something that we're actually looking at very critical. The other thing that we have also we are seeing in government is that now we'll have a lot of saving in travel per diems and all those things. And simply because you find that one of the largest budgets in government is actually travel, which may be necessary or might not be necessary because there is public participation you have to.
Yes, it looks like we might have lost Mr. Korea there. I'll go to you, Mr. Mirero. I have a question for you here. What are some of the challenges that CIOs and CISOs are currently facing in the public sector, perhaps specific to the East African region or specific to your experience? What are some of those interesting challenges that you can share with us that you're going through? Hello, Martin. Martin Mirero, did you hear me?
Sorry, Joseph. I think I lost you. For a second. I think I dropped off.
No.
For some. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. The question I was posing to you was for you to share with us some of the challenges that CIOs and CISOs are experiencing currently, whether or not it's impacted by COVID-19. Just what is your current challenge environment that you're going through in this within the cybersecurity and the cyberspace overall?
Yeah. Thanks, Joseph. Yeah. So I think there's quite a laundry list of this. I mean, of course, the most visible, most immediate has been uncovered by the ongoing pandemic that has disrupted the way we live, work, interact, and brought with it a number of security challenges, new risks. I think the way, interestingly, I think I see it while yes, I acknowledge that the downsides are this is that I think the upside is it's an opportunity to have this conversation prioritized by the business, by the organizations, by the leadership, by the the pass holders in government, especially, because now it is something that's touched on most of us and most of them. So the conversations around investing in improving our security posture is being received with more reception and prioritized, because I think this is something more of our stakeholders can relate to. And I think too, perhaps to chime in on some of the other points that my colleagues had mentioned, there's also a confluence of new emerging technologies around cloud and mobile and so on that have become ubiquitous, but have not been structurally addressed from a security perspective within government. And then also on the regulation and compliance side, I mean, we have a lot of regulations, both local in our jurisdiction and global as well, like the GDPR. the acts. So closer home, the Data Protection Act that was enacted just last year. So there's all this, I think, that's been surfaced to and being brought to the table, and I think CIOs and technology leaders need to start engaging in these conversations and creating roadmaps on how to then address some of these new challenges.
Great. You mentioned two items that I think are very, very relevant. One is about the regulatory environment, and two is about budgeting. I think no head of IT, no head of security does much conversation without the issue of budget coming in. So I'll come to you, Mr. Muhizi, with a question that I hope you can share with us, and then I'll go to Bonagundi immediately thereafter. And talking specifically about budget, talking specifically about how the whole environment of money from an expenditure perspective. Is there a budget process specifically looking at cybersecurity, or is your security spend being part and parcel of your overall IT spend? How do you look at that question of security, and how does it impact the overall IT budget?
I think it's a bittersweet kind of situation. The ransomware situations and the other data and IT breaches that we had in the last couple of years sort of opened up the understanding, and we have realized and started to see specific budget being put aside for cybersecurity, which is a good thing. And looking at the trend, it is going to increase in the next couple of years or so. However, this is really going to affect other parts of the IT budget in general that is also increasingly going up, which is the digitization part of the IT budget. So all of a sudden, with the COVID-19, we have seen a tremendous demand for digitization and automation, which is a good thing. However, it is wanted as soon as yesterday. Yet you cannot be able to provide it because these sort of processes take a little bit of time and require a little bit of talent to do them. So this has created another challenge on our hands where we have to do some sort of balancing act. Now, Joseph, to get to your question specifically about the challenges that the ISOs and CIOs and CISOs that are facing, some of the challenges that people are facing right now, one of them is really to balance the issue of data privacy and data security. If people are being tested and we have to provide their test results for COVID-19 and stuff like that, how do you make sure that their medical situation is kept private and it is not going out in the public, or the perpetrators are not able to get hold of that? Now, that is linked to the governance that was talked about and regulatory issues. Do we even have the regulatory instruments in place to be able to govern these processes? Do we have data privacy and protection laws in place? So the lack or the absence of some of these instruments is creating a challenge for the CIOs and CSIOs in the region. And the other part that I want to talk about is what we really touched on, the talent to be able to govern these systems and to govern these processes, but also the proliferation, if you will, of different malwares and ransomwares and all these issues. Now that people are online more than they have been, these are really issues that are coming out, and people need to really mitigate these challenges. So these are some of the issues that are being faced by different issues, but also over and above this, with the demand for digitization, how do you balance innovation and making sure that you keep your systems running as they were? You need to come up with new tools and techniques to deliver services, but you also have to maintain the legacy and operational systems in place. So these are some of the challenges that we see happening in the domain. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That indeed is always a hot conversation. To those who are joining us on the webinar, we do have a poll. A number of polls are actually that are currently ongoing. 3 questions that we have put forward. We ask that you take a minute or two to answer through them, so we'll be able to review your responses. 3 quick questions to do with budget, to do with the impact of COVID-19 working from home, working remotely, as well as the impact of or need to have trained professionals available to be able to respond to it. I want to go to Indy just briefly on perhaps an interesting question, which I would love to take your feedback on it. As you interact across East Africa, across the Africa region, what are 2 things that you're hearing from your partners, your security partners, from 1, a budget perspective, and 2, the environment of the regulator, what the regulator is asking from them? How does that drive your interaction and your conversations with them?
Education is a very important part. It's just not just making sure that all the tools are there, but how do you educate your staff, the teams, to work from home, right? For them not to be scared of the internet or access remotely, how do we sort of get them, as I said before, education towards be a responsible user that will work with the tools that's given by the public enterprise. GDPR is a big thing, right? And governance is a big thing. And the skill shortage is another thing, right? I'm picking other things we talk about. And we talk about phishing attacks, online meeting issues, skills. So let me put everything together. So it's very hard in this world to have number of skilled people to solve problems, or keep skilling people to handle the issue. So we got to look at automation, right? We got to look at security automation. We got to look at how we automate security and how do we sort of manage the responses in a better way. And you as a CIOs have few things that coming into you to actually analyze, right? That's where, and as I mentioned before, we have taken the problem away by actually automating security, right? Whether it's cloud, we can talk about products. We're leaders here, there, everywhere. So cloud security. So it is eminent. Most of the new security software are actually going to be SaaS-based, simply because of the ability and the tools there in AWS or Microsoft, big cloud providers, or VMware for that matter with the AWS. We have the tool set, we have the intelligence to actually quickly look at things and actually respond better. So where we are looking and where we are going, on the regulatory side, we can look at well-architected frameworks. We can look at it and say, okay, if you are doing certain things, if you are having certain workloads in, whether it's going to be in cloud or on-premise or access from different users, what is the right governance protocol? Does it come? We have automated tools to say, right, we can run your assets, digital assets, and say they comply with GDPR as an example or not, right? From the regulatory side. Then how do we automate everything? How do we provide you with this endpoint, with this cloud, with this network? How do we look at everything and offer you a service where we go, right, Mr. CIO, I'm taking your problems away in terms of resource skills and budget issues, right? We will do that for you. We will even do the incident response for you if you don't have incident response teams. We have different levels of incident responses, right? And how can we service you better? And then on top of that, the phishing attack is a big thing, and Zoom and Joseph Korea, you mentioned that about all these issues you're having. That is correct. So how do we sort of then put a plan to educate people in the organizations? Now I'm going to throw something in in the workshop with the fourth industrial revolution. This is one of my favorite topics I talk here. 4IR. Isn't this a perfect platform for us to retrain our workforce in the fourth industrial revolution? COVID has done something amazing, right? We talk about digital transformation. This is a chance to retrain people to understand technology. And whether they work for the public sector or private sector, whether they work with you guys today or they go and work somewhere else, it is a great opportunity for the government to actually retrain people, create new jobs in terms of fourth industrial revolution. There are a lot of things. I mean, we can't stop connectivity, right? The telcos are going crazy. They're bringing more connectivity, but they have to be in business too, right? And there are connected cars, connected that, connected fridges, connected this, right? It's happening. Right? It's happening. So this is, I think, a perfect springboard that actually we can help you and we can work together. And I know in Lagos, we are working with the Lagos city, Lagos state on a smart city. How do we automate things? Because Lagos is, as you know, is a big city. You have to really get things going. I know Kenya is really advanced, and we like to work in those areas. So we have the skill sets there, guys. It's the bottom line. My few messages are: security automation is key. Whether you have a SOC or don't have a SOC, addressing your skill sets, training, yes, no problem. But automating will actually take some of those pressures off you. Cloud. If you do it right, if you put the security controls right, cloud is probably the right way to go. Cloud is secure, but what you put in the cloud is your responsibility to make it secure, right? It's a misconception that everything is secure. It's not. Cloud providers provide you a beautiful, secure infrastructure, but what you put in there has to be secure too, okay? So these are the areas we're going to look at. These are the areas I'm seeing as trends, and GDPR is big for us. Where we work with, especially on our endpoint solutions, our XDR, as I said, the data lakes, and cloud especially, we are compliant with most of the, pretty much actually, wherever we have legislation is Australia with this GDPR. I know Kenya was having the data protection law when I was there 2 years' time, they were talking about it. And I'm not sure whether it's been gazetted and it's been out as a law now. And Mauritius has got a law, so we comply with pretty much everything. So from a trend micro perspective, and in a sense, to your point, it's not about having a one silver bullet, no one's got it. But I would say I'm not selling anything here, I'm just being very honest here. I think we are pretty close to providing you a holistic solution. At least, providing some consulting, we're not charging any money, we're just talking, right? And how we can help you service you better. So I like to have a lot of conversations with you guys. I'm sure Bio does the same as well. Want to have a lot of conversations and see where we can assist you, right? And if you need, your organizations need people, your remote workers to have a lot of endpoint security licenses, more than happy to give them away, right? At no cost, right? So we're more than happy, as we've done around the world. We do a lot of good social responsibility things. We are not here to just a quick buck, guys. We are for the long run. So that's hopefully, Joseph, I've answered some of your questions, and I did answer the questions. I think I did, and I actually put a bit more on top. That's all right.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, you did. We are just a little bit over 12 minutes over our time, so I apologize that we have taken a bit longer. I do want to get literally last comments from a couple of people that we have not really had much from you, Vincent Gudi. I'll come to you in just a minute, as well as from you, Bonakuria, and then maybe one last comment from Mr. Muli. To our participants, I can see you continue responding to our polls. Thank you so much. Just to let you know where we are in terms of that within your organization. Is there a budget process specifically looking into cybersecurity, or is it a blanket IT budget? 44% of you say yes, 56% say it is a blanket IT budget. How has work from home and the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic crisis altered the risk to the organization? 24% say greatly, moderately 68%, and then another 8% say not at all. And then the last poll question that we posed was the fight against cybercrime requiring trained professionals and mechanism within public sector. We have 46% saying yes, 21% saying no, and another 33% saying they're not too sure. Question for you, Bonagundi. We have talked a little bit about the new change, and it begs for us to discuss in terms of the impact of cloud and mobile connectivity and the use of IoT devices. What control measures does one really need to think about putting in place? Because this obviously is expanding the attack surface.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph, for that question. I'd really like to speak about technology in general, not specifically the end user devices, because I think the whole COVID issue has really made people, as I mentioned, rethink how to and what's in an issue of survival, because for organizations, and I'm talking about both public and private organizations, to survive, they've really been compelled to adopt digital technologies. It's not really an option anymore. For survivability, organizations have been forced to deploy technology in their business processes. And for instance, a good example that affects all of us is the working from anywhere, which has become the new normal for everybody. And as you mentioned, even for security operations centers, things are looking different because everything seems to be abnormal in terms of the kind of data and traffic that people are seeing on their networks, because majority of the people are actually working from anywhere. It could be from your mobile device, it could be from your kids' tablets. It could be just literally from everywhere. And it's really changed the role of the CISO, and obviously increased automation, as I've mentioned, also. Of course, increased automation and the increased use of digital platforms has also put a lot of pressure on cybersecurity professionals, because what used to work yesterday might not necessarily be relevant in terms of approach, because most, and especially the public sector, most networks were looked at from an internal control perspective. But now we are seeing that most of the people are actually working from without the organization, and obviously that changes the dynamics of how CISOs are approaching cybersecurity. There's a study that was done by the World Economic Forum just to show how important cybersecurity has become. And the study shows that most organizations, from a risk perspective, are more concerned about cybersecurity. In fact, it ranks among the top issues to do, is being seen even as more important even than a recurrence of the COVID-19 pandemic. So organizations tend to feel that they are more concerned about cybersecurity than a resurgence of COVID-19. So it has never been more important for organizations to look at cybersecurity to ensure that whatever they do as organizations, whatever business processes, whatever policies and governance instruments that are developed, needs to have cybersecurity developed as part of the development perspective. So we're looking at either whether it is compliance of laws and regulations, whether it is policies like working from home, which has become predominant, the management of third parties has never been more important than it is right now, because as organizations adopt cloud services, for example, we are more and more depending on third-party people to provide us for services. Policies like business continuity have never been more important, and in terms of not just developing them, but actually testing them and actually deploying and implementing them. It's never been more important. If you do a quick survey even for most organizations, you find that most of them have.
Hello, Vincent. You have a static connection. We are losing you there for a moment. Okay. Bona Julius, unfortunately, looks like we have lost Vincent there. Bona Julius, I hope we have a better connection now. We really haven't heard from you, and I wanted you to have literally the last word before we now bring this to a close. We have been this a little bit longer than we had hoped to be. Julius, are you there? Are you able to hear us? Can we hear you? Julius, can we hear you? No, unfortunately. Okay, very well. To our audience, we would like to, of course, invite questions from the chat. If you can submit any questions that you have generally for the panelists, or anything specific that you'd like to share, please go ahead and share them on the chat part of it, so that we can be able to share and get some questions to it. I want to give Mr. Kuria the very last word on it. You're in the middle of your presentation, and then we lost it in terms of your question. And then from there, we will go back to Indy and begin to bring this to a close. Specifically, what perhaps we would like to hear from you, as you were speaking earlier on, I don't know, perhaps if you want to go back to that question that you had been stepping us through in terms of trends seeing in the public sector, or if perhaps any general closing remarks that you can share with us. Bona Kuria.
Okay, thanks so very much, and apologies for that. I think the application a little bit heavy on CPUs. That's why it's actually cutting us off. As I was saying, the threat here is one, they moved the cyber security to the crowd within the public sector. The other one is the issue of online conferencing, other than actually having to travel, real time. And this has already happened very well. In 2013, we really tried to push for telepresence and conferencing. It didn't work, but this time round, it seems like it's the new normal. We're also looking at how do we also engage on the public participation online. But most importantly is the government is actually moving almost all the transactions online for government. And as you know, when COVID set in, what the government did to the CBK was to actually approach Safaricom, which is a money mobile transaction company, to actually reduce the cost for the small transactions, and that has really boosted small businesses. But that one is not with a challenge, because I think the greatest challenge, and probably that's why we're here, is the opportunities that these online business has brought to the fraudsters and all these conmen. And I'll just lead in the cyberspace, on the web about an instance by if you transact your money, whether through M-Pesa or M-Pesa agent, and it goes the long agent, to get that money is a problem. Safaricom, they have this loan application that is there, and all these are applications. And then the moment you send the loan account, it is freeze one, or it just disappears in the thin air. Unfortunately, they cannot refund you. And the only thing is now go back to the government and report to the police. And you go to the police, wait. So you find that if you had an urgent issue, becomes a problem. And now this discourages people from actually using an otherwise very important platform. And I think that is where now as government, we need to actually push a little bit more and have all these loopholes that the fraudsters keeps on opening up, to cross the map. And as I finish, because I don't think I'll have another options, my crossing mark, is that the government is doing all that it can to ensure that we have qualified people who can be able to learn and manage the cyberspace. One is that we have this presidential digital talent program, whereby we have the graduates from the universities. They are actually thrown into the public sector. They are attached for 1 year, and also in the private sector. And this has also given a lot of exposure to them in the different perspective. Unlike us, you come straight from university and then you go straight to business and you don't even have experience. At least now they have experience. We also have another one that's called Ajira, that is also training people on how to do online business, and especially now online jobs and all that thing. That is also helping masses, especially from the county government. They are really benefiting from that particular aspect. Then the other thing that probably I would want to say is that through the Ministry of ICT, there has been a huge, push to actually have this standardized training for ICT. But as I close, let me say that yes, these are attempts, but there is a big problem because ICT has never been considered as something which is of high priority like other sectors. And I'll give you an example. If you look at the salary structure within government, those who are in the financial sector earns more than those who are in the ICT. And that's why you find you cannot even detain qualified people that you have trained, qualified people who can be able to manage even data centers. Because the moment you train them, they are taken over by the private sector. And I think when the government actually takes into consideration, there's a major sector that needs to be looked into and very well funded, I think you can move forward. And as I said, another example is most of the ICT projects we have, and especially which are cyber related, like the National County Connectivity Project, we have National Fiber Optic Backbone Cable, which has taken almost 13 years and we are not even complete. And you wonder, why not prioritize and finalize this thing? Because it's a backbone. It is the runway in which all the slick airplanes will ride and carry people. If we can be able to have that prioritization, I think as a country, we can get it right. And once you have that particular infrastructure, don't worry about where you're going to get the qualified people. Qualified people will come because there is an enabled environment by the government for this to thrive. And at the same time, the private sector is also doing a good job on this particular space.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Korea. I know you had a few sharing, but I needed to bring this to a close, so forgive me for interrupting. I will ask the rest of our panelists, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise and your thoughts and everything that you have had. I will just ask literally just 30 seconds from each person in terms of closing remarks. I'll begin with you, Bona Vincent. Just 30 seconds. Closing remarks, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joseph.